Hi, you guys. It's Yaz, and today I'm going to talk about who the narcissist ends up with in the end. Who do you think is going to be the last man or woman standing with the narcissist? Who do you think they're going to end up with in the end? Well, I'm going to get into it in this podcast. Most people say a narcissist in the end ends up alone, and a lot of them do end up alone. But not all of them. And I'm going to get into explaining why, okay? Narcissists, they live crooked lives. Throughout their whole life, they're scheming, they're plotting, they're deceiving people. And what do? They burn a lot of bridges, right? And along the way, the narcissist loses these types of relationships. People walk away. They never want to be bothered with the narcissist again. Even their children. A lot of times, the narcissist was never there for their children. And then later on in life, the narcissist comes back. And a lot of their children don't want to be bothered with them because children remember. They remember who was there for them and who wasn't there for them in their younger years. But there's an exception to that rule, okay? And I'm going to get into that. Also, keep in mind, too, the narcissist will end up not necessarily with who they want to end up with, but a lot of times who they have to end up with. So narcissists, they lose a lot of people, probably people that they wish were with them later on in life, but because they did these people dirty, they walked away from the narcissist. So in the end, the narcissist is scrambling to keep anybody that will stay with them, okay? So the narcissist has to settle themselves for whatever supply they can get because the biggest fear to a narcissist is to be alone or be abandoned. So they're going to keep anybody around as to not being left alone. And what does that do, you guys? Then you have a narcissist who's miserable. They may have a supply there, but they're not happy with the supply. Not only that, the narcissist is, torturing that supply because the narcissist got older. The narcissist is angry. The narcissist is bitter. They can't do things that they used to be able to do in their younger years. They're losing their looks, so they frantically wish they could get back that fountain of youth, which they can't, all right? So they're frustrated. The narcissist is bitter, angry, frustrated, and they cling on to whatever supply is there at the time. So in the end, a narcissist has to settle for whatever's around, all right? Or you have the other scenario, and this happens, where a narcissist may have left you for the new supply, and they could be with the new supply till the end. But you guys, understand this. That new supply is going to be going through a lot of abuse, because the new supply is only, in the beginning, the narcissist is only going to be nice to the new supply in the beginning, during the love bombing stage. The longer the time goes by with the new supply, the more that narcissist is going to step on and abuse that new supply because they're no longer new anymore. Now they're becoming old, and now the narcissist is getting sick and tired of them, but the narcissist may be getting old and can't just discard them, all right? So they may keep that new supply around later on in life, but in the interim, they're living a whole secret life. They don't care, okay? Because now the new supply becomes a security blanket for them. That's what they are. They're a security blanket for them. They're not a romantic love interest that they're madly in love with. No, they're a security blanket. Or they could be using the new supply for money, a place to live, or something along those lines. And that's all it is. But the narcissist is, out doing their thing. And it really depends, too, on the new supply, how hip the new supply is to narcissism or the narcissist trick. The more the new supply understands narcissism or is aware of it, or the stronger their boundaries, the more that narcissist is going to get kicked to the curb. But if that new supply is, a person that is codependent on the narcissist, they could last. Yes, they do last. And I have seen them last. But again, in those later years, that narcissist is going to torture them. Okay, they're going to be putting them down. They're going to be devaluing them. They're going to be sick and tired of them. They're going to be living a secret life and have a backup to that supply. All right. And then what happens is the narcissist gets older and the new supply ends up being their caregiver. This is what happens. They end up being their caregiver unless they're really, really sick of them and they leave them. All right. It really depends on the circumstances. Now, okay, this is really important, all right? And not enough people talk about this. Things could end up a different way if the narcissist has money. Da-da! Okay, this makes a big difference. Money will make or break how a narcissist ends up in the end. This is really a big one, you guys. Like a broke, busted narcissist is going to end up really, really angry, bitter in the end. Nobody's going to want to deal with them, or they're going to have to settle for any old supply that they're going to hate their guts and live this horrible, existence with, or they're going to end up alone. But, okay, the narcissist who has money is a different bird, because the narcissist who has money will always have people around. This is just a fact. This is just a fact. And I have seen this with people. Because there will always be other narcissists or people in the world that will be vying for that money, okay? They will be around. Let's say it's a narcissist who has money and they have kids, right? There will be kids that will be kissing up to their narcissistic parent for that money, for that inheritance. So they may still be kissing up to that narcissistic parent, whereas that parent won't be alone because they're vying for that inheritance or that money. Or it could be a partner who is hanging in there because of that money, all right? They want that money. They would have divorced that narcissist years ago, but they figure they put in all this time, they took all that abuse, and they're not about to walk away from what they feel is due to them, and that's the money that the narcissist has. So not every narcissist, you guys, ends up alone. That is not true, all right? And people that say that haven't really witnessed it, all right? Because narcissists who have money don't necessarily end up alone. There will be either a child or a spouse or somebody, maybe a caregiver even, that will be around the narcissist and will be kissing up to the narcissist for that money, okay? You see also older narcissists who are maybe divorced or something, they'll go with a younger supply, and the younger supply is with them for money because they could be a narcissist as well. And they went with the other narcissist who has money because of that. They can't stand each other in the end, but they're hanging in there for that narcissist money, okay? And somebody also made a comment, and this is so true. They made a comment because I did a reel on this, and they said, well, the narcissist is going to end up alone in the nursing home and torturing the nursing staff. And that's very true. A lot of them do end up in the nursing homes and torturing the people in the facility. That is very, very true. Okay. But if that narcissist has money, there will be people around. Period. Dot. End of story. How do I know? Because I have lived it. Okay. That's why when I see other influencers, they talk about it and they say the narcissist will definitely end up alone. No, that's not true. Not all of them do end up alone, and not the ones with money. All right. That's why money will make the biggest difference in a narcissist's life, because although they're wicked and cruel to so many people throughout their life, if they have money, there will always be some kind of other narcissist lingering or some other person around that is hanging in there for that narcissist money, okay? And this is where you see a lot of people fighting in the end over a dying parent, all right? Siblings battling in the end over a dying narcissistic parent for inheritance money, all right? It gets very wicked in the end. It gets very, very wicked. And that's because the narcissist has money. So when the narcissist has money, people hang in there. They want a piece of that action. So the narcissist may not necessarily end up alone in the end. Their circle, mind you, their circle will get smaller. No doubt their circle will get smaller, okay? But what happens too, like with a narcissistic parent, is the golden child to be around, and maybe the scapegoat or other children will not be around because they just, they don't have a relationship with the narcissist, and some kids don't even care. They don't give a shit whether their parents have money or not. They can't deal with the toxicity of that narcissistic parent, and they walk away. And the same thing in a relationship too, because some people may not care about the money, but even if you don't care about the money, there will be someone else out there that does care about the money, and the narcissist knows it, and they'll have somebody that will be around. They'll find somebody else that will be around. They'll throw little bits of money to people to keep them around, or, so that they're not alone, okay? How do I know? I've seen this, okay? I have seen this. So understand this. Who does the narcissist end up with in the end? They could end up alone if they're, the broke, busted narcissist, or just a typical person that doesn't have much. They could end up alone and torturing the people in the nursing facility. That's who all the nasty people are in these nursing facilities. That's all the narcissists that got nothing better to do but then to pick and fight and argue with everybody in the place, right? I've seen them in the hospitals, okay? Because years ago, I used to work in a major hospital in New York City, and I used to see it, right? The most difficult ones were the narcissist, always, fighting, arguing, complaining about this, right? They'll end up in the nursing facility, nursing home, right? But some of them will have people around them if they have money, because again, because of the narcissist money, some sucker is going to flock to the narcissist because they want the narcissist money. See, that's where narcissists go after other narcissists to use them for something. So that's how it rolls out. But understand this, the narcissist is not going to end up with the one that got away, so to speak, all right? It's never the one that got away. It's the supply that got away. So they'll never end up with, let's say, a supply that was the best supply that they had. They're going to end up with the supply that is there at the time. So narcissists don't end up with the best supply they ever had. They end up with the supply who's there in the end, who's ever there in the end. During the whole circus and the shenanigans of the narcissist is going to lose people throughout their life, and who's ever left standing in the end, or sometimes in the end, if they're like an old geezer or something like that, old woman, old man, whatever, all right, if they have money and they're flashing money, they could attract supply, and they could end up having somebody by their side because they're giving them money or keeping them around for their image, okay? There's a lot of older narcissists that have younger supply that they're there, they're getting paid off just for the narcissist image. You see this in Hollywood, okay? A lot of older supply are with young supply, and they're paying them off. They're giving them money to have this young supply to make themselves look good in the eyes, in the public, all right? And a lot of them are old, and they look like they're going to just keel over and die, right? But the only reason that person is there is because they're giving them money, all right? They're giving them money, or they know they're going to get money in the end, all right? They know they're going to get money in the end. So to cap off, and in sum here, you guys, the way it ends up for the narcissist is it depends on their financial situation. That's really what it boils down to. If their financial situation is strong, They may have a child that will be there hanging in for that money from the narcissist, or a spouse that hangs in there because they have money and they feel they invested so many years. I'm not going to give up on all those years I put in and all the abuse to walk away now. So they may stick it in till the end. And then if the narcissist doesn't have money, they're either going to have nobody, they will be alone, or they're going to be with somebody who is, either somebody who just doesn't know, all right? Could be somebody who just doesn't know, a very, empathic person that doesn't know what the narcissist is, or it could just be somebody that, is very, very codependent and is there. But again, the narcissist doesn't end up with the people they want to hang out, the people that they had in their younger years. No, they don't end up with the supply that they really want to be with. They end up with the supply they have to be with because of their circumstances. And again, the narcissist will cling on to anyone or anybody that they can cling on to in the end. And if they can't cling on to anybody in the end, no matter where they are, whether it's a nursing home or another place, they're going to cling on to whoever is around. Okay? Because the narcissist does not ever want to be alone. They will try to keep whoever they can around. And it really depends on who these other people are, if they're going to put up with it, and if they're going to put up with it because there's some kind of, pot of gold at the end. So I hope that helps you guys to understand. If it does, please share the video, share the podcast. If you're looking for confidential one-on-one phone coaching, check out the link in the bio. If you're confused, you don't know if you're dealing with a narcissist, what kind of narcissist, and you need clarity, check out that link in the bio. Also, you guys, check out my YouTube at the Game Exposed podcast. Over 7,500 videos. There's a lot of information, a lot for you to learn about narcissism. So check it out. TikTok is the Game Exposed, and Facebook and Instagram is the Game EXP123. And have a great day.